Yep, so welcome everyone, whoever's listening. So I thought I'd make this little video, just giving an update on where I am with my Spanish. So here it is. I know some of you may have watched my other video, so I thought I'd do this one in English and just give a little update of where I am. So 400 hours of comprehensible input so far. So where are we at with that? So first of all, I'd like to thank, and I guess the main sort of help for me to get there would be Dreaming Spanish. It says I've done 178 hours watched, but I've done a lot more than that. I think I did a lot more before I bought this membership that I'm with them now. So I've done a lot more hours than that, but even on with the membership, watched over 1,000 videos and what's that, 257 days practice. So a fair bit, but yeah, I've done a lot more. So, but it really is, it's a great resource, and yeah, I highly recommend it to anyone. It's pretty much the main reason I think I've been able to stick to it. So I would recommend it to absolutely anyone, and it's a real game changer, I think, for learning any language. Yeah, it's been great, and it's gotten me to the level of which I'm at now, which is definitely not perfect Spanish at all, but I'm very happy considering I haven't had to move overseas or anything like that to get where I'm at. I'm very content with where I'm at, and dreaming Spanish is it's a big reason, and I thank Pablo and the whole team there for putting this program together. I think it's been a big help to a lot of people in the community. So yeah, next slide. I just thought I'd touch on how I've tracked my hours. So um, very basic. I see a lot of other videos with a lot of Excel spreadsheets, tracking hours and hours in the car or concentrated hours or a bunch of different ways to track these hours. I've gone for a very simple method. Um, so I've pretty much, this is just a little sticky note I've put on my desktop, and I've just put at least 1 hour per day every day. And then I was on a holiday a bit earlier this year, so I just put let yourself off a bit, do just 30 minutes on holiday, because 1 hour was getting too hard, to be honest. So I'd go out, do a full day of being on holiday with friends and the things that you do, and 1 hour was just too much. So I gave myself a bit of an out while on holiday. But other than that, for a bit over a year, I've pretty much done an hour per day, and that's compulsory. I've it says here 398 hours, but I've done, I reckon, honestly, probably closer to 600 if you just include every second I've been immersed in the Spanish language. So yeah, heaps more than that, but that's all I've tracked really. I've just said an hour at a minimum, and I have my days where I struggle with that hour, but I just say just do the hour and do it again tomorrow and do it again the next day. And look, if that's all I do for 1 week or a month, just an hour a day, I'm happy with that, because that's what I set myself to do. And look, anything else is extra, and I've done a lot more, as I said, than 400 odd hours, because I've loved it and enjoyed it very much. So that's why I've done that. But I think it's a good way to do it. Obviously I see other YouTubers and they take it to the extreme and do 8 hours a day, but that just wasn't for me. I set a limit I have to hit, and if I want to do any more, that's absolutely fine, no problems. Yeah, that's what's worked for me, and I think I'd like to think that would work for a lot of people. You're gonna have your days or your nights where it's you're just about to go to bed, you've had a packed full day, but you still got to get that hour in, and that's a bit of a grind. But I try to minimize those days as much as possible. Whether that's doing 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes at night, or just clumping the 1 hour together when you've got that one spare hour during the day. So yeah, I've always been a big fan of splitting it up, if that's what works. You just got to kind of find your own thing. Some days I'm just not feeling it. I just can't sit down for an hour. I can't concentrate. And I tell myself that's fine. I'll just do 20 minutes here. Maybe I'll do 40 minutes at the end of the day. That's no problem. I'm happy with that, as long as that 1 hour gets hit. And I pretty much just record this. I just Google stopwatch and use Google stopwatch and stop it and start it throughout the day. I'll usually do them in one full session an hour or 2 30-minute sessions. Very rarely do I do 15 or 20-minute sessions. I find that I don't know, it's on your mind too much, and I find it pretty easy to find half an hour twice a day. So yeah, but you got to do whatever works for you. So other resources I've used, so YouTube is a massive one. Spanish con Juan, that's helped me heaps. Very similar content to Dreaming Spanish, probably a bit more of an intermediate level. How to Spanish podcast, Mexican podcast, very helpful. Similar to Dreaming Spanish, content by natives, but for people learning. And then once you progress a little further, you can just get into native content. As I said, I know I said 400 hour update, but I've probably done 600, maybe even 650 hours. So I can watch a lot of native YouTube content. I find it a bit easier, just concentrate one video at a time for 10 minutes. So I find I can sort of get the gist of that pretty good. And then movies and TV, that's a bit harder for me. I can, subtitles I can usually get by, but I don't know, I prefer to not use subtitles, to be honest. It's just a personal preference. I'm sure you still learn heaps with subtitles, but it's not for me. I find it's too much going on. I prefer to concentrate on the one thing. And yeah, dubbed content, that's a good way to start, I think, on Netflix. I've watched some of my series I watched in English before with dubbed Spanish content. I like to not watch too much of this because it is a bit different than your pure native sort of content, but it's a good way to just touch up. And if it's something you enjoy, that's the main thing, I guess. If it's what you enjoy, you're going to do it more often. So as with all this sort of stuff, don't worry about if it's not the most efficient. I think if it's something you enjoy and you can do a lot, that's the main thing. And for reading, Spanish Con Juan books, they've been pretty good. I've never been a reader in English, so to be honest, I don't enjoy it that much reading in Spanish either. So maybe later down the track I might get to that a bit more. So it's definitely something I'm struggling with, but it's honestly not something I'm too bothered about either. I'm not too fussed. My reading's not great. I'm learning to use this language in a verbal context. Maybe down the track, but look, I'm not too bothered, so I don't do a lot of reading. The other resource I forgot to put in there was Anki, and I used that. I bought one of Refold's decks. That was 1,000 words, and I probably did that for a couple of months, but it was just getting too much for me per day. I just hated it, and I was starting to burn out. So, look, I just stopped doing it because I was like, I can't keep doing this. This is boring. And I just stopped. I was a bit worried at the start. This is going to, decline how much I understand in content, but it was fine. It was fine. It was the best decision I think I've made to do. Definitely recommend. If you're not enjoying something, you're never going to be able to do it long term. So why bother? Pick something you enjoy. I think it's the main thing, or at least it's bearable. So speaking, I've sort of started speaking on italki. As I said, I've probably done closer to 600 hours. So I can hold a 30-minute conversation okay. I'm definitely not fluent by any means, but I can do 30 minutes on italki with, pretty much all in Spanish. Maybe the odd word I might need to get translated because I've never heard of it. But look, pretty much most of the conversation I can do in Spanish. It's not perfect. I've asked my tutors, they say they're speaking at a normal sort of rate. Like what they would do with other locals. So I think my understanding's pretty good. It's just my speaking is not great. I often have to think of words, but it's definitely getting there. I feel like I'm definitely on the right track to fluency in terms of my speaking, but I can understand a fair bit. And sometimes the mics on italki tutors aren't the great, so I don't think that helps. I think it'd be a bit easier in person. And I'm not going with the most expensive tutors either, so that's something to take into account. But that's been good. I think I've done about 20 lessons, and I think I'm pretty happy with my speaking, considering obviously with comprehensible input you don't speak too much. So can I speak Spanish? Well, I guess I can a little bit. I will show you an example just to help you guys out to see where I'm at. So this is a video I uploaded yesterday. and I'll just play this for a bit.
Y Luke, ¿tú hablas otros idiomas?
Ah, ah, por supuesto, inglés,
Sí.
pero solamente inglés. Ahora sí, un poco español.
No, hablas bien español. Hablas
Sí,
bien español
sí,
para hablar solo inglés.
sí,
Por
sí,
eso te pregunté
nativo.
si hablabas otros idiomas, porque pensé que tal vez hablabas francés.
No, 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 no habla otro idiomas, solamente inglés nativo, obviamente. Sí, español es mi primer idioma, aprender. Sí. ¿Y tú? ¿Habla mucho
No,
idiomas?
hablo solo inglés y estoy aprendiendo polaco.
Polaco. Poland?
Sí, ¿sabes?
Es,
Sí,
sí,
Poland is the country, yes.
sí,
El
sí,
país es Polonia,
sí, sí,
Polonia y
interesante.
el idioma es polaco.
Sí, es difícil este idioma.
Es muy difícil para mí por la pronunciación,
Sí,
pero la gramática es muy similar a la gramática en español.
sí,
Claro que ellos también conjugan sustantivos.
sí,
Es decir, un sustantivo es perro, gato.